All right, so heads up, this is going to be very opinionated. We're going to talk about concerts, VIP packages, and all of that in the regards to the church. So here we go. Um, Thanks for joining me for the Outlaw Pulpit. Again, as you have noticed, we've kind of taken a fresh approach to this podcast, and I'm talking about issues and things within the church, a structural building that we call the church, and us in the building that are the church. So I just wanted to be able to come at you with a topic that I deal with quite often, and I'm sure a lot of churches across the world deal with, and that really is the issue of concerts. Um, I've been the pastor of this church, Radiant Fellowship, for 21 years now, and we have hosted probably 35 to 40 concerts, ranging from all different types, predominantly Christian rock and metal. But we actually had one guy in from the Gaither tour, Jonathan Martin. We've had let's see, we've had Matthew Ward in from Second Chapter of Acts. We've had Randy Stonehill with us, and again, out of the Jesus movement, and many others. We've had 77s, Violet Burning, Grave Robber, Glenn Kaiser, White Cross, 6'10", which is the more folk style side of Flatfoot 56 with Tobin. We've had the Protest, Disciple, and many others. We had a really cool one actually a year ago, Christmas. Her name was Jean Watson, and she's pretty big in the United States, but really big over in the Ireland area. And she's done work with Iona and Moya Brennan and other people like that. We've had the Crossing in. So on and on goes the list. And you start learning a few things. Now, I actually got my love for concerts back when I was a music buyer for a few Christian bookstores in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. And when I was a youth pastor, we brought in concerts. We did more hip hop down there. So we brought in LA Symphony and Marzil and Caboose and Sackcloth Fashion. But we actually brought in Disciple once way back. When I was a music buyer, the Disciple came into our store. They were just starting off, and they said, we got to town and our church that we were playing at canceled. And so they were wondering if we have any place to put them up. And I said, well, I have a youth group meeting that night, and it was a large youth group. And so this was just after they released My Daddy Can Whip Your Daddy EP. And so the kids didn't know who Disciple was. To be honest with you, I didn't really know who Disciple was at the time. And it was a fantastic concert, as you can imagine. But regarding concerts, the good, the bad, the ugly, concerts are a lot of fun to put on. Okay, they really are. For someone sitting back saying, "How do I get started?" It's easy. Reach out to a band. Just reach out to them. See if they want to come. If they're a new band starting off, now the old way was bands have booking agents. Not all bands, but a lot of bands have booking agents. So it would be look in the CD jacket, and a lot of times they'd have their phone number in there, and you'd call that phone number. Marzil, for instance, they were on Goatee Records, big name in the Christian hip hop industry, and ended up talking to the lead singer for the group, and we just ended up booking and got him for a really good deal. And it was a great concert. And sometimes you got to deal with booking agents. I promise you that if you deal with a booking agent directly, you're going to pay more. But that's the way it goes. I mean, it's fine. I'll talk about that in the pay thing in a little bit. However, if you start putting on concerts, there's a few things worth mentioning. Number one, have a good sound system. A lot of bands that are up and coming and starting, and even some that have been around. I mean, we hosted John Schlitt, lead singer of Petra, and back then we just had a basic church sound system, and he made it work. It was fantastic. But a lot of times when you bring in bands, you got to have a good system. Probably 16 channels, 24 channels would be good. A subwoofer. I have yet to deal with a band that prefers in-ear monitors, so have wedges. House speakers, they have decent ones. And the key though is, number one, pay them. Okay, that seems so elementary, doesn't it? But A lot of bands get stiffed, okay? And bands that happens to, I apologize on behalf of the church world. That should never happen. But the second thing is, now this is key. Now, if you're a part of a band, you might say amen to this. Feed them well. Okay, feed them well. These bands, a lot of times, have been on the road for a long time. The last thing they want is a Little Caesars pizza, all right, or a Subway sandwich or something like that. They won't turn it down, but at the same time, feed them well. And this opens the door for another ministry in your church. So what I do is I have a group of 3 ladies in our church that when I say I have a band coming in, they make a full spread. The last one, they got pot roast, they had chicken, mashed potatoes, all the stuff, all the fixings of a home cooked meal, and homemade desserts. That's a win. Well, what do you make them? Well, a lot of the bands will tell you what they need, what they want. I can tell you that the newer bands, the bands that are just starting off, very easy. They'll let you know if there's an allergy restriction or something like that, and you just work around that accordingly. Never take the stance and say, well, this is what we're going to give you, and that's all you're going to get. No, you're being hospitable. You're being kind. You're bringing in this band that's been on the road, maybe drove to you. And so you want to treat them right and feed them well. Bands remember that. Here's a little inside scoop. Bands remember that, and word travels to their other counterparts, the other bands that they know or work with, and because I've seen it firsthand, where they'll say, if you need a gig, go to, in my case, Radiant Fellowship. They'll treat you right. They'll put you up and feed you well. Now, the other thing you got to keep in mind is when you're bringing in a band, there's a few expenses. Number one, honorarium, pay it. Okay. Some bands are flexible. They'll throw a number at you. You come back to them. If a band says we need $800, don't offer 200. But if you can't do 800, then get creative. Say, well, we can do 500 and we'll give you all the ticket money at the door. Or we'll give you 500 and everything made at the cafe or snack stand or whatever the case may be. That's the snack stand thing, not so much, but we'll give you $500 and take a love offering for you. Those sort of things. What about merch sales? Don't charge anything for them to sell merch. All right. That's a big one. I've had just a handful of bands say, what is the take on selling merch at your church? Nothing. Bands love that. I mean, this is how they get paid. This is how they make a living. This is how they do all of these things. So it's very important to do that. So you have honorarium. Okay. Usually the honorarium also encompasses travel expense, like their gas and all of that. So that's why the number can sometimes be a little harder. And hotel, 90% of who I bring in need accommodations. So you ask them, how many rooms do you need? Don't question it. They've been on the road. They know what they're doing. They'll say, we need 3 rooms. Perfect. Boom. Get them 3 rooms. And then the meal. And those are the 3 big expenses for bringing in a band. Just because you say, I got this band for $500. Well, that's part of it. Remember to figure in your food. Remember to figure in your hotel. And these are important things. So if you can't work with the artist direct, you work with the booking agent. Booking agents usually require money down. A lot of bands actually require money down. Why? Because they've gotten stiffed before. So this is just normal. They probably won't ask for the whole amount, but they're going to ask for a deposit. And now, what about the bands that are bigger? Okay, now we've had bands that have come in that are bigger, and you're going to all of a sudden see the expense go up a little bit, sometimes quite a bit. And this is normal because they're a bigger band. They've been around for a long time. They've seen a lot of things. They've experienced the joys of doing ministry, and they've seen the abuses of doing ministry. And so they have contracts that need to be signed saying, hey, this is what we're agreeing to. This is how much you're going to send us. And this is how much is due on the day of the concert. Okay. They're going to want to know in advance where they're staying. Contrary to popular belief, not many bands want to do homestays. I can't blame them. Okay. Can you imagine being on the road for a long time and all of a sudden you're staying at Sister Papoofnik's house? Like, You don't know, because then you all of a sudden you're dealing with cat allergies, dog allergies, bird, rabbit, all different pets. And cleanliness, that's another thing. Cleanliness is such a relative term. What I consider clean may be a mess to somebody else. So you have that side to navigate through. Now, with the bigger bands, you're going to be dealing with more production. Okay. You're going to be dealing with their needs being a little bit more. So they're going to send you a rider. They're going to send you a slip saying, okay, this is what we require of the sound system. This is what we require for this, this, and this. And I'm just going to be honest with you. At first, it seemed a little diva-ish. I think that's a word, right? Diva-ish, and that is what they want in the green room. Okay, because these band people, they'll come in, they'll hang out with your folks, they'll get to know everybody and stuff like that. But there will also be a moment where they're like, "Do you have a room for us to hang out in?" Because they just want to be able to breathe before the concert and after the concert. So they're going to say, well, we would like a 24 pack of water. We'd like this, this, and this. Okay. Some of them will even say, we want a family sized bag of peanut M&Ms, whatever. Okay. Um, what I've found with that is it's negotiable. We had a band in a few months ago and their list was long. I mean, it was long. And we ended up contacting them and saying, do you really need all of these things before the show? I mean, 24 pack of liquid death and Red Bull energy drinks and espressos and all of these things. They're like, no, we just put it on there because we normally will end up just getting Mountain Dew and water. And so once you get that list, it can be overwhelming, but just follow up with them then and say, are there certain things on there? Otherwise, you'll spend hundreds of dollars more on stuff. And in my case, I did this early on. I got them everything on the list, and they left 3/4 of it with me, which I'm like, I really don't want this stuff. So that was a learning experience. Bringing in bands can be a lot of fun. Um, when it comes to the thought of using bands as evangelism, I just want to throw it out there. Sometimes it works. Okay. Um, myself and a few other churches that I know that do this included, if you're a pastor saying, we're going to do this, we're going to bring in these bands, we're going to grow the church this way, chances are it's not going to happen. Okay. There will be one or two people that come around maybe afterwards and maybe for a little while and stuff. But ultimately what they're seeing on concert night and what a Sunday morning service looks like can be two different things. And honestly, you're just creating a cool venue for these bands to play. People from all over the place come. We have people, it's not unusual for us to have people driving in 4 or 5 hours to see these bands that we bring in right into central Wisconsin. So yeah, get that out of your mind. The bands plant a seed. They'll share a message. A lot of them share messages. The ones that don't, okay. But they'll share a message, and some bands even lead people to Christ through a prayer and stuff, and that's great. But typically, haven't seen a lot of church growth from that. Now, there's the other side of bands. Okay, you start learning things about the band. I remember one solo artist in particular, real big in decades ago, and when it got to town, thought he was still number one artist out there, and wanted my wife to iron his clothes and basically pushed me to get to the point of saying, I want hot tea delivered to my hotel room and this many packs of honey and all that stuff. You're going to run into that kind of stuff. You're going to run into it. I had one very well-known Christian metal band in, and they said they would use our system, but they completely dismantled it. It was a nightmare. So you learn quickly, okay, so that's who we're not going to have back in again. That's not something we're gonna do, because I get it. They want their sound right. Totally get it. Totally understand. However, when they say we'll work with whatever you have, we'll just plug into your system. We'll just go. You go with that, okay? Because there are sometimes, well, they can dismantle a sound system so much that nobody really knows how to put it back together again, and now you're stuck scrambling for your Sunday morning service. So that's a big thing. One of the things that I hold to, again, strong opinion here, strong opinion, and I love you if you do this, but it's not my thing. VIP packages. This one gets me a little bit. VIP packages are a turnoff to me. Okay, let me explain why. Many years ago, you could go to any concert and you would be able to meet the artist. Okay, you kind of rolled the dice on it, that you might bump into the artist, and there are some really big names out there that to this day, after the concert, they'll go back to their dressing room, get a drink, towel off, whatever they want to do, and they'll come up to the merch table and be willing to take pictures, sign autographs, all that kind of stuff. The VIP packages are what bothers me, though, because they end up wanting more money and kind of elevate themselves to rock star status when this is a ministry thing. And to turn away fans that drove all that way to see them, and won't be able to see them unless they purchase a $100 VIP package, just seems wrong to me. It really does. I'll throw out a name. Okay, one artist that I actually admire. I don't listen to. I did back in my teen days, but is Toby Mac. Okay, here's a guy that I've saw recently. He comes out to the merch table and he meets people, and people genuinely like it. But I've been to many festivals, many Christian music festivals, where, quite honestly, if you don't have a VIP package, you won't have a chance to meet them. And I think the response would be, right, that, well, how is an artist supposed to meet all of these fans in one venue? Let's say it's a big venue and a big event. Well, that's on the fans' part to go in with the understanding, saying, I may meet them, I may not meet them. I'm going to enjoy the concert. But maybe the artist could come out for a little bit to the merch table, shake some hands, and if you're there, great. If you're not, well, that's the way it goes. I've seen this with other bands, even in the mainstream world and the Christian crossover world. Most recently in November, when I saw King's X in concert, I was thinking, we're not going to meet those guys. It's King's X. I've been to dozens of their shows over the years since Out of the Silent Planet, and sure enough, all of a sudden we're standing at the merch table waiting to get our stuff, and here comes Doug and Ty and Jerry, and they're just meeting fans, taking pictures and all that stuff. I'm like, there's a lesson to be learned here, that the fans support the musicians, and we're not asking the musicians to like stay out there the whole time, but at the same time, come out, meet the fans, take pictures, have fun, and take time, because these are the people that are supporting that ministry, that person's life. And so, yeah, anytime I see a VIP package, I kind of cringe a little bit, just because, in the Christian world, it should be a little different. It really should be. And, if anything, let me go one step further. If anything, and I've had a lot of bands do this, they'll just hang out and mingle with people before the concert, before they even go up on stage. They'll just hang out. I had one band come in and they actually opened the doors up for people as they came in, and the fans, the people were just blown away, like, whoa, this is the lead singer of, so, you know, bringing in bands, it's exciting, it's stressful. The ones that aren't stressful and the ones that you'll really enjoy if you ever bring in a band are the ones that say, we bring our own production. Yes. That's amazing. All you got to do is unlock the door, make sure you have enough power for them, and they do the rest. You just sit back, get the food, make sure their hotel's booked, and they set up everything. They come with their own sound guy. That's happened with The Crossing from Japuza off Gur Records. That happened with Honor and Glory, Disciple, in other words, for their Christmas tour. They showed up. That one we had to ramp up our box for, our power, our fuse panel for, breaker panel, because they had three things they just plug into and it draws a lot of energy. But great guys, easy to work with, and but yeah, so you're going to meet a lot of great people. There are costs that go with it. There are many good artists, and there are a few that will be complete divas that you will say, I will never bring in again. That's just the nature of it. And yeah, I guess that's the main talk, is that, you know what? I love concerts. Not a big fan of the VIP thing, or the meet and greets. I think every concert should be a meet and greet. And but certainly, if you ever have questions and you're looking to bring a band in, there's a lot of people in Sanctuary that could help you out. But also, if you just want to shoot me a message or comment, I would be glad to answer any questions that you have. Um, and here's the big takeaway: treat the artists right. Okay, treat them right. If we ever book an artist and say, well, they get their living off Spotify, that's a laughing stock. Treat them right. Let them have a merch table. Take care of them. Feed them well. Pay them. All of these things, and you're going to have a lot of fun. We're still doing concerts, and it's just been a joy. So I hope that was kind of insightful. Crash course in church concerts 101. And again, if you have any questions, send a comment right here on Facebook or YouTube, or email me, and I'd be happy to get in touch with you. Hope you have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you actually next Monday. Bye.